and good morning. This is the 8th episode of Clutter Talk Live, and I am your host, Dr. Zen Moffat, and we will be joined by Elaine McKinlay of Clear Mountain and Clara Moore of Joy of Space. So I will let them both in now.
Morning.
How are you doing, ladies?
Morning. Morning.
Good morning. How have your weeks been? What's been happening?
Yeah, cool, thanks. Yeah, not too bad. What a beautiful week we've had of weather. I'm very lucky that I've got a lovely garden, so I've spent the week in the garden. What about you guys?
I've had a hectic week, as in it's felt like a fast forward back to pre-lockdown. 2 birthdays, my mum and my daughter. The puppy's been for an operation. I've been back and forward to the vets. So for me, it's been really, really busy, and it's shown me how much life has slowed down for us during lockdown. So it's been a bit of a busy one for me. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Zen? What have you been up to?
Well, last week I was on about making sourdough bread.
Yeah.
Well, I did an absolute clunker of a thing. So I came across this recipe on YouTube that my mum sent me, where you can put your frying pan in the oven to heat it up properly. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and I mindfully used the oven gloves to take it out, but then I unmindfully grabbed the handle. And so I've got I'll show you, I've got this boo, right? And then, but I had a Zoom party for a friend's leaving do in the evening, and little did the party know that my hand was actually in a bowl of cold water, and which I left it in there for the entire night, and it healed pretty well. So that was that's what happened to me not being mindful last week, which I think is a topic we're going to maybe cover a bit today with you, Elaine.
I've got a top tip for that, actually, because my father was a chef in his early life, and he used to say that in the kitchens, so the other chefs knew that it was hot handled, is they threw flour over the handle that was hot. Ooh. So there's a top tip, that if you've taken something out, you throw a little bit of flour over the top of it, so that it reminds you that that one's hot. So that was something that I always remember him saying that.
Oh,
so
that's
a really good one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really good to know, because it's just because I never expect, it's very rare that my frying pan handle is hot. So I just never expected it. So anyway, there we go. The bread was okay. I've eaten better. But yeah, it sounds to me, Clara, like this, I don't know if many people are finding it, but with the sort of the release of lockdown, it's just brought in quite a faster pace of life again.
Yeah,
which is kind of maybe welcome in some bits, but maybe not welcome in others.
It's very welcome. It's just when life speeds up and when you have the ability to do more, people can ask more of each other. For example, my mum asked me to make her a birthday cake. I don't like baking, so I thought I'll do bread and butter pudding. But then, which I've never done before, and it was a bit of a disaster. She was polite about it, but I won't be doing it again. But then when you have a friend wanting to come and visit you because they can, and you've got the dog's vet appointment, and the kids want to go to the park, and life just all of a sudden becomes a lot busier.
And you had a book that you wanted to share today, which might be quite apposite. I'll see if I can, you talk about it, and I'll see if I can pull it up on the internet for people.
So it's a lovely book about silence. Jocelyn made an interesting comment last week about how her experience of silence has changed during lockdown, in terms of before, if she might have been out in the car, she would put music on, but since lockdown, she's enjoyed silence in the car. So this book is called Silence. I know you're reading that back to front. It's by Elaine K, who is a Norwegian explorer. And when he wrote this book, he had, at the time, his 3 teenage daughters were all very much plugged into their phones, and not interested in the concept of silence at all. And he was interested to think about what is silence and where is it and why is it more important now. So through that, he was asked to do a talk, I think it was in St Andrews, and he decided he would write this book because it was so well received by people. What is silence, where can we find it, and why do we need it? And it's an absolutely beautiful book. He also intersperses it with beautiful photos of his exploring work. So there's just really calm scenes in there. And I find it very interesting for him as a man to be talking about silence, reading this as a female, but also he once spent 50 days walking solo across into the Antarctica with his radio broken, so he truly got to feel what silence was. So he was in lockdown in extreme, although his was by choice, maybe not with his radio being broken, but it's a beautiful book. And I know Zem talked last week about being a Quaker, which I also go to Quaker meetings, and the reason I came to that was through the love of silence, through not feeling like I didn't have enough silence in my life, because I was around two very busy, noisy children, and at the time the person I was in a relationship with, he had wall-to-wall sound morning to night. He slept to rain music or music. He put the TV on the minute he got up. There was no silence. So I found this book and it really spoke to me.
Elaine, I think you've been enjoying and discovering silence as well for quite a while.
Yeah. As I spoke about the last few weeks, I am heavily into mindfulness, and I do mindfulness every morning. And it's interesting, the journey that I've had through mindfulness. And sorry if you hear a wee dog growling in the background. My son has dropped off his puggle, who is enjoying watching the birds because he lives in a flat. So Freddie, silence, please. So yeah, I've enjoyed the journey through mindfulness. Again, like Clara's saying, at the beginning, I was somebody who liked quite a lot of noise around me, and the house was really busy when the boys were here, and they've always brought their friends in. So I had a really busy house all the time. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And then the boys went off to university or wherever, and the house became quiet. And I didn't really like the silence that was here, because I thought, oh, there's nobody around and the house is empty, kind of empty nester sort of syndrome. And then with mindfulness, I started to appreciate the silence, because I could then tap into different feelings within my own body. And also, I think what it gave me was a lovely bigger perspective on nature and things like that. And also, as I've said before, about taking that calmness to our clients. So yeah, I mean, I'm heavily into sitting now inside. In fact, this morning we did a meditation for, I think it was about 30 minutes in silence out of an hour's meditation. So yeah, I love it now. Love it. You know,
I think I've been like practicing as a Quaker now for about 7 or 8 years. And I really enjoy that time in a week to sort of settle. And it's amazing because we can do it on Zoom now, which is fantastic. You can like bring that settling in. And at the end of our Clutter chat sessions, we have a moment's or a minute's silence. And I really like it for people to just sort of draw in and just to settle and be with themselves and their thoughts. But I think you almost have to invite it in, because it's very easy to just not do it. So I suppose the question is how we keep this going into the new normal as well, and how we move forwards.
I think that it's amazing how we're all affected by silence. I know that in my house, when I'm doing yoga, at the beginning of it, the dog's throwing his ball at me and he's coming up to play and the kids are in and out asking questions, even though I have this is my yoga time now. But then as the yoga progresses and they get used to the silence and the slower movements, the dog lies down. He does a few downward dogs himself, and then he'll lie down and have a sleep, and the kids will join in the relaxation part at the shavasana at the end. And if anyone's ever thinking about, for example, what the silence in the Quaker meeting reminds me of, it reminds me of that feeling of the silence, of being connected. For example, nationally, when Princess Diana died and we were all silent at the funeral and all silent in shock, it's just a lovely feeling of connection with yourself when you're silent.
Yeah. And it's interesting what you're saying about the dog, because my mindfulness teacher has a dog. I think it's probably the same type of dog as you've got, Clara. And he's in the room with her in the morning when we do the mindfulness. And he obviously settles down as we go into it. And then as he knows, as the bell rings for us to come out of the meditation, he gets up and he has a drink. And every morning we hear the lap, 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 lap of him having his drink. So we know that the mindfulness session is finished. So it's interesting how, as you say, it kind of radiates out. And if you're calmer, then the people around you are calmer. And I know when I worked in education and I worked with children, and especially children who had ADHD or dyslexia, dyspraxia, etc. And now I work with adults with that sometimes when they were slightly worked up, it was easier to just be silent for a moment, and then they sort of de-stressed and then come down and they could clearly tell you what the problem was. So I think it's a lovely tool that a lot of people could do with learning, because as you say, in our busy lives, and already I'm hearing the traffic's getting busier and I'm thinking, oh no, we're going back to this biz. But it's lovely. It's been a terrible period that we've gone through with what's happened. But it has been a very enlightening experience as well on how we all deal ourselves with different aspects of life.
I know, Elaine, we were maybe going to move on to this at the end, but do you want to talk about the guided meditation? I can bring it up on the website, the bell.
Yeah, well, what we'll maybe try, I don't know if anybody's wanting to have a wee go at the very end, like the last 5 minutes of the session here, we might put on what I call as a mindfulness, it's a mindfulness bell. It's actually on YouTube, and Zem is going to bring
I'm going to put it up now.
A little thing
People
which
can see it.
It's called a guided meditation. But basically, it's not anybody speaking, it is just the bell ringing, and we can have maybe a wee hear of it. I don't know if it's going to, it might come on in a minute. If not, we'll go through it at the end. But it's quite nice to just get yourself to learn to breathe properly. It
should be coming up, Elaine, now.
Yeah, it's probably a slight delay because of what's going on. But basically the bell just rings, and it's great if you've got your earphones in, because it's like a sound bath that goes through your body. It's absolute, if you like a vibration, it goes through your body, and it's about you controlling your breathing. So if anybody's up for it, just pop into the chat and we can maybe do a wee bit of it for the last 5 minutes just before we go off, and see how people enjoy it or not. It's just an invitation to try something new. So, and it's interesting because we talk about clutter as clutter is like noise, where we all have a different tolerance to that. When I go in, some people like a wee bit of clutter around them. My home is fairly clutter free, I would say. I mean, there are definitely times when things are all over the place, but I have a husband who loves tidying up, so that's an advantage. But some people don't like that and may come in and think my house is too clinical, so everybody is different, and it's like noise, and everybody's level of toleration of noise is different.
I think that's something that we all work with people who share their home with other people, whether it's flatmates or family members or spouses. It's just looking at what the different people's needs are, how much silence, how much noise, how much clutter each person can tolerate, and how that will affect shared spaces. And Jocelyn's just made a lovely comment here about her aunt and uncle being married for 70 years, and her cousin saying that the key to happy marriage was the ability to sit quietly in each other's company, which is a lovely comment.
Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, because I think sometimes we want to fill the space, and I'm definitely before was someone who wanted to fill the space, and Dr. Zem taught me that you don't need to fill the space, Elaine. When we do our courses and that, she says, let the people fill the space. Her obviously training as a lecturer has come in there. She's training us, you see, she's keeping us on our toes, especially me. But
too.
yeah. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
I think there is, I mean, like they say that nature abhors a vacuum. And I think particularly in our culture, we can't, like, silence is just scary. It's, I mean, and there's some sort of statistics that go around that in Japan, they're more able to sit in silence for 2 minutes before they get feeling uncomfortable. I don't know if that's true or what comes, but I certainly know that here, it's people start feeling uncomfortable very, very quickly if there's silence. They feel that they need to leave it. So I will just sit and see what happens. But what's lovely about it is that in the groups is that if you allow space and silence, then those that are more timid will actually start to feel able to contribute. So I think it's for those of us, and I certainly have been one in my life that's always pushed forward and been at the front. So it's been a real learning for me to actually hold back and actually enjoy other people coming forwards and seeing them and hearing them, because otherwise I've missed things because I've gone too fast. So I find actually I get a lot from it, from holding back. But yeah, it's interesting, and I love, well, this is maybe a nice time to talk about our Strathclyde course that's coming up, Elaine, talking of lecturing.
Yes. So many people who know us know that we do a course at the University of Strathclyde's Lifelong Learning Centre, and Zem's going to pop up a link at some point to that. But we are popping our course online, which is great. We love the interaction between the actual physical people in the room, but actually it's going online due to the virus that's going on. So it's going online for booking on the 8th of June. The places are limited. It's called Moving from Chaos to Calm. It's running for 6 weeks on a Monday between 2 and 3:30. And what we do is it's fairly kind of interactive in the fact that we love to hear our classmates' stories and why they've joined they've decided to come to the course. And then we look at sort of taking them through the journey of why clutter gathered, right through to how we might be able to give them some techniques and time management schedules to get them, you know, to help them to get to a place that they want to be. So really helping them to create a vision and see that vision through. It's been really popular in the past, so if you are interested in joining us, please pop along on the 8th and book your place. Places are limited because it's on the Zoom platform, but you'll still see the three of us. We'll be there participating in different ways. And it's been, as I say, we've had really great feedback from it. So if you are interested, pop along to the website.
So again, to repeat, so it's the University of Strathclyde Future Learnings Centre. Centre for Lifelong Learning. Yeah. University of Strathclyde Centre for Lifelong Learning. You can book in from the 8th of June. So that's in about a week's time. Is that a week Monday?
Yeah.
The course starts the 20th of July, Monday, the 20th of July, and it's 6 weeks running. And I don't think it's too dear. It was when we
£58, Zem. It's £58.
£58 for 6 classes. That's a bit amazing.
Yeah. £58 for 6 classes.
Keep it the price. Anyway, it would be lovely. It would be lovely for people to book in and join us. And geography's no restrictions. So we have dogs. We have 2 dogs in the house.
Mine is sitting here pretty chilled.
How's your dog now, Clara? Your dog's been for an operation.
Yeah, he's in a romper suit. He's a bit disgusted with it. Because he's had abdominal surgery. So he went, and he also had a tragic haircut at the dog groomers the night before. So my friend came round and socially distanced the garden, and she said he went from instant kind of rock star hairdo to kind of geeky nerd in his kind of NASA looking romper suit to protect his stitches, and he had one of those
collars
on as well, the collar of shame. So he's pretty chilled just now.
And I remember in one of the first episodes where he jumped on you, his wonderful fluff ball, which was so Louis, just it was such energy and joy.
It's not so fluffy now, the poor boy.
He's not so joyful at the moment. Poor boy.
Oh, don't have a lockdown haircut, everybody. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a warning.
My son had been asking me to cut his hair for him, and then he took a look at the dog and he went, "No, it's all right, Mum. Just no, I'll just manage."
Elaine, where's your dog from? What's your?
He's here. He is. He's, I don't know if he would come up. Come up. No, he's away. He's a chubby puggle. He's a pug and a beagle mix. I don't know if I can show you. I don't know. He's all over the place just now. He lives in a flat, so he'd like Freddie. You see him?
Oh yeah.
Hello. He's just looking at
Freddie.
It's as if you primed him to do that, Elaine.
So he's very highly stimulated at the moment because obviously he can see the birds in the garden. He's jumping up to the front window because we've got a low front window. Oh, he's settled down. Right, okay, good.
He's a perfect example of how when you have more space or you change into a different space, it affects you.
Yeah, exactly. It is interesting actually, because actually he's quite docile at home. He just, I think with Jamie and Caitlin, he sits, like a wee child at home. He just sits very quiet and calm. Whereas here, he's like all over the place, and it's all new, and there's lots of space. And he runs up the stairs, and he was in the bedroom, so I had to close the door because he was lying on the bed. But he's found a chew there, so we'll see. Sorry about the noise if you hear him.
Well, yeah, back to the topic of silence. So we've had lots of texts in and messages on the YouTube asking, yes, please, Elaine, we'd like a guided meditation at the end.
Cool. Let's do that then for the last 5
We
minutes.
will finish the program with that. But let me read a couple of the messages that we've got through. Hello, the silence topic is very apt for me in lockdown. I found myself just sitting and meditating, etc. Or Tai Chi and just listening to the sounds outside. I thought I had got used to living on my own, but realized I too frequently put the TV on. Combine it with box breathing, and it is something I'm doing every day. So that's a nice one. And so yes to the guided meditation. And yep, thanks. That's it actually.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for the date of the university and cost. So to remind people, if people want to text in any messages, you can get in touch with us live, either by texting in on 077 265 30217. That's 077 265 30217. Or you can message us on the YouTube live chat window. Clara, do you want to introduce us at this point?
Yes, I would love to. So I will introduce the lovely Elaine of Clear Mountain Decluttering and Lifestyle Organising. Elaine is a professional organiser and a decluttering motivational coach. She has an interest in Lagom and mindfulness, and she works with people with ADHD, autism. She works with helping set up office spaces, just many different areas. And Elaine is chatty and friendly and has just a lovely, gentle, fun manner. And we have yourself, the wonderful Dr. Zem Moffat from Insightful Moves, who is a founder of Clutter Chat. And Zem is, as she said, she's very warm and chatty and friendly and a hugger and gives the most amazing hugs. And
unfortunately not at the moment.
No, I know.
I've got a whole load of people booked up for them, I think.
Yeah, and if you're very lucky, she might hum or sing while she's giving you a hug. So Zem speaks beautifully about meaningful objects, and she might talk about her truck to you as well, and works very well with people with long-standing hoarding habits, and also has a great interest in social isolation and connecting people. So myself, I'm Clara Moore from Joy of Space. I am trained in the Marie Kondo method, and I work as a professional organizer and declutterer. I also love to work with just a sense of balance. I probably am quieter, I'm less chatty than Elaine and Zem, probably a little bit more shy. So I work with people with their creative spaces, whether that's setting up a studio, an office. I also work in all areas of decluttering, whether that's in a garage or a house move, downsizing. And Elaine, Zem and I all work together as well, whether that's doing the college course or workshops, but we also might work together with a client, either together with the client or separately coming in. And I worked at the weekend with one of the clients that Elaine and I work with. And just to say to people, if you don't know, that certainly across Glasgow City Council, the recycling centres have opened up again as of Monday. So I was working with a client at the weekend looking at gathering lots of different recycling so that that could have a plan in place to go out the house. So that's good news, but check when your recycling centre might be open and what specific rules they might have. It might, some recycling centres were talking about going by your car registration, whether it was even or odd numbers. So that's exciting news.
Yeah, I think you can only do, like you can go to the dump here, but you can just take what you can normally just put in your rubbish. So it's not much of a step up where I live at the moment. Definitely, but one can definitely get organised. I've got like a charity shop bag ready to go. Mm-hmm. And oh bless me, I'm like doing everything so nicely, which I wouldn't always do for charity shop. It was like all labels saying this is a lampshade, this is this, this is a wire that goes from this to this. So it's all like nicely clean and folded and tidied and packed.
With us in East Renfrewshire, they are allowing us to go to the local recycling, but you have to book in, and it's only open at the weekends actually at the moment. So anybody who's near me, obviously there's different places doing different things. So best thing would be to check with your local recycling centre.
Right, ladies, I have a game we can play. I want to find an organizer, because we came across the Find an Organizer site on Apto. So there's professional organizers all around the UK. So I'm going to share the screen, and I want you to tell me, give me a postcode or an area, and we'll find it. So I'm going to share screen now. So choose anywhere in the UK and let's see what we can find.
ML.
Hold on, so I can search by postcode. So I'm on now. So it's ML.
You just put 7. I don't know. I'm
ML
not
7. Okay.
It's nobody in particular.
Let's see who is near. That's Midlothian, isn't it?
Is it not Motherwell?
Yeah, Motherwell. Suzanne.
ML. I don't even know where it is.
There's
Motherwell.
Suzanne.
Okay. So we have Clutter Free Me, Suzanne Laidlaw. Let's see what Suzanne Laidlaw's So I'm clicking on her thing. She covers Edinburgh, Glasgow, Lanarkshire. Oh, I like her clutter-free me thing. There we go. With over 20 years experience as a project manager and 4 years as a professional organizer, I provide non-judgmental, practical and emotional support to clients who want to get their house in order.
Brilliant.
Great.
Brilliant.
Elaine, do you want to choose a
So let's try one of our Edinburgh colleagues, because obviously we are members of ABTO, the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organisers. So can we find something in EH10? EH10.
EH10.
I don't know if there's anybody in that area.
The Secret Tidier, Victoria McHugh.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go.
So the Secret Tidier, let's click. Oh, yeah, there we go, TST. And she is a professional organizer and declutterer based in Edinburgh. Her aim is to help people declutter their environment, create simple and workable systems that make life run a little more smoothly.
I think that Victoria also works with our other colleague, Zoe Berry.
Wendy.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, there's Wendy who does something
Wendy,
a wee bit different.
For the paperwork for anyone who's closer to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see Clean Desk Professional Organising Wendy as well at Deputa. Great. Let's click on her. 5-year member, fantastic. Edinburgh, West Lothian, Fife, the Netherlands. Oh, that's right. I think she taught a course as well. She in Holland, they actually teach, there's courses in the colleges on organising and decluttering. That's
correct. She wrote the course with some other people
didn't she?
In Holland for one of the local colleges, I think. So yes, they actually are ahead of us. They provide actual courses that you can join to become a professional organizer. So.
Now, I'm up for wanting to look for someone like completely in a totally random bit of the UK. Where should we go?
How about go to, let's say, Dorset or something like that?
Dorset. Sorry, Dorset people, we realise you're not totally random. Absolutely, very specific.
Yeah, we don't want them to be random.
Right, so we have decluttering for good. We have let's go to, and we got Ian Killick, photo organised.
Let's go to a guy.
Let's go to because they're very underrepresented. We need to big them up. Here we go. Ian Killick, we're bigging you up. He does Somerset, Dorset, Devon, Bath and Bristol, London. And he, I think, specialises in photo organising. Photo takers and distinguished gift buyers who want to do more with their ever-growing photo collections. Excellent.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I actually went on a little course on that yesterday about photo organising, and it was the ladies who were running it were both ABTO members, but they were also members of the Association of Professional Photo Organising, APPO. And they were explaining how they could take anybody that's got photographs or old cine films or old slides, all the older type of things, how they can take them all now and they can put them into, they can organize them and put them into different formats, and then make files up and send them back to their clients. So they're actually working just now, really working just now, because people are just leaving their photographs and all their bits and pieces outside, and they're going picking them up. And then it takes months and months and months to go through all these different photographs, sort them, and then put them into different categories, and then also rejig them onto like hard drives and things like that. So it was quite interesting about how they do photo organizing, because I know we touch on that, probably we do a bit. I mean, I know I've done a little bit of it, but there's a big market out there for people who want, to keep their photographs but in a different format. So it's evolving all the time. Apparently the scanners are evolving all now. The actual, you know, those little photographic things you can buy in the photographs sweep through, what's it called, like photo frame. They have apparently much better now. Yeah, they're much better now. And obviously there's the photo books that I do quite a lot and things like that. So yeah, so interesting. Glad we clicked on them.
Talking about that, I had mentioned to Elaine and Zem after the Clutter Talk Live last week that I had been reading a problem that someone had sent in. It was a lady, I think she was in her 70s with 2 adult sons in their 50s. And during lockdown, she'd been looking at just the wealth of photographs in her home, and that both her sons didn't want any of them, but some of it was war memorabilia from their grandfather. And so she wrote in asking what the person, it's more emotional issues normally, but she wrote in saying, what shall I do with all these photos? And there was a response to it, obviously, and then there was a response to it last weekend, and she had said it was fascinating that so many people responded to the lady's dilemma of disposing of old unwanted photographs. And the lady called herself Jane. I don't know if that's her real name. And Jane thought her problem would not be suitable for this page, but it clearly was. And my final suggestion, the lady who responded, the agony aunt response, was of burning or burial of at least of the least interesting pictures in a respectful little ritual provoked many outrage in thoughtful email. Some suggested they might be useful to local history groups, or the best thing to do would be for Jane to scan all the photographs digitally to keep in the form for future generations. But the agony aunt says, ideal and reality is not ideals. And the notion that an elderly woman living alone in a small bungalow with 2 faraway sons who've said they're not interested is going to have the knowledge and energy to embark on such a lengthy and tedious process. Well, she said, I just don't think it's going to fly. And she said she wouldn't know where to start, and that local history groups are only interested in specific places, so it's a long shot. And some said that Jane should research her family history. But what she came to saying was, in her own home, we have boxes of old pictures, mostly, though not exclusively. Mine are the vast archive that weigh her photographic husband down. And each year she vows to sort through the good ones and stick them in some albums that she bought years ago. And then the months pass and she doesn't. So she concludes by saying the best old photos are interesting, but how many unfocused snaps of unknown people and empty views exist in the cupboards? Where does all this stuff go? And she finishes by saying, the point is this: we cannot hold on to everything. At some stage, our loved ones will have to deal with the detritus of our lives. I reckon it's kind to save some of the work and let the other go. So it's a very topical thing. And I know that you had spoken about how you felt, Elaine, about working through your boxes of photos, and you had an idea of how it might feel, but the reality was really quite different.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's right, because last week I spoke about going through my mum and dad, a box that I had in the loft for 4 years of my mum and dad's stuff. And I sent them off to, I sort of separated them all and then sent them off to one of these photo books type ones. And I actually got it back. So this is the first stage of it. So it's all the black and whitey ones that I've done. And basically I just sort of bunched them up together. So that was like my dad when he was younger and things like that. So I started to bunch them up together, and I've actually made a little mini book that's there. It's got about, I think I counted 45 photographs. Look how small that is. Look how small that is. That is tiny. So that wee book there doesn't take up a lot of room. It's sitting on my coffee table. When the family come over, they can sit and flick through and see all these little black and white photographs that were away up in the loft. I mean, they were in the loft. Nobody was seeing them. And it gave me, as I said, it was good. I sat and looked through them. I thought it was going to be very sad. It wasn't at all. It wasn't at all, because I actually was looking back on their life and looking at what they'd done and things like that. So that's my first installment. So that's the wee black and white ones. The next ones are going to be the ones of when we came along, my sister and I came along, and what was happening sort of around that time. But yeah, so there's different ways of doing it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You remind me of one of our early graduates from Clutter Chat, and it's in one of our very early leaflets. And she writes, I came to Clutter Chat as I felt it would help me keep up a momentum, which it did. We spoke about photos one evening, and it came to me to do slideshows to music on DVDs. I'm amazed I'm on top of these photos, as I've been wanting to do something creative with them for years. So thank you, Zem, and the group for my declutter breakthrough.
Aww.
Good, that's good.
And I think there's something lovely about having things to music as well. I mean, I love music, and on slideshows, and there's many ways of being able to tell the story. And one of the routes that I had for coming into decluttering was, previously I was a documentary filmmaker, and I'd studied documentary and taught documentary. And for me, like decluttering a house is like making a documentary film. So I would have 12 hours of footage that I had to reduce to half an hour, and keep in that half an hour what was essential to the story, give it a really good haircut, cut away the ghost stories so that whoever watched it could see the narrative and the people who I was trying to honor and to film, their stories were being shown. So when I go into someone's home, it'd be like, just think of this as a film. We're trying to reduce it. So you just got the really essential things that needed to tell your story, to celebrate who you are. So I use the same skills from documentary filmmaking of organizing, categorizing, knowing, and really, really paring down. And I read early on one of the filmmakers, and he said, imagine it's like picking a leaf up off a forest floor, where the leaf stands for the whole. So those pictures in your book, Elaine, one image will prompt so many memories. You don't need the whole forest, you just need the one leaf.
Exactly.
So that's where I come from.
Yeah, I would say that, Zem, because also when I went through the box, there was a lot of duplicates of the same, or different angles of the same photograph. And I thought, well, actually, we only need one nice one, which, as you say, tells a story. And so that's just the start. So that's from maybe them getting engaged right through to getting married. So that's only the first sort of part of their life sort of style. But it was good. I was frightened about doing it. I thought emotionally, I'm not going to be able to cope with this, but it was the complete opposite. And I think that's an interesting one when we talk about like walking your walk and vision, setting a vision and taking yourself through. It may not be what you think. The vision changes, and we talk about that on our course. We get our the group to write their vision at the beginning of the course, and then we want to ask them at the end of the course if these visions have happened, or if it's paired up, or has it changed. And quite a lot of people say it's changed because they've had to examine what's been going on.
And yes, someone's just commented, yes, but it is a lot of work. And yes, it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like filmmaking, it's a lot of work. For every hour's footage I recorded, it took me 3 hours to transcribe it and to get to know it. And that's just, it's a lot of work. But I think there was a question before that came in that I'd like to ask both of you, which I think could be interesting for today. Have we always been this organized, or was there something that made us as declutterers change our behavior to become a minimalist? But are we minimalists? I don't know. Is there something we can recommend to make us flick that switch? While I appreciate a lack of clutter, it never seems to be at the top of my list of priorities, and I genuinely seem to have something more important I want to do first. While part of it may be procrastination, I don't think it all is. I much prefer being outside or doing stuff inside that either brings me joy or I think needs to be done first. How do I overcome this, other than your first advice of doing a little and often?
That's
any ideas, Clara?
Very good questions. I have always loved being organised. I grew up as a child of two parents with strong hoarding tendencies. And although the house that we had, it was an upper conversion of an Alexander Greek Thomson house, really beautiful. I still dream about it, overlooking the River Cart. And although my sister and I could have had a bedroom each, we didn't. And we shared a bedroom, but even then, often my dad might have 5 car engines on the floor of our bedroom. My mum might have stuff in our bedroom stored. So for me, it was always important to be organised and reclaim some of my space. And also my sister's an organised person, and she would go in and organise my drawers. So that really infuriated me. So I promised myself as a child that I would, if I was lucky enough to have kids, I would teach my children how to tidy and be organised. Because if you think about it, parents say to their kids, go and tidy that up. But have they taught their children to tidy? What does that mean? Whereas if you say to a child, tidying up is putting your toys live in this box, the balls live in this box, or your pants go in this drawer, then you're teaching them to tidy. So yes, I've always been organised, but for me, when I had children, and at that time I was married to their dad, who was a hoarder, who was disorganised, that babies bring so much extra things into your house. So for me, that was a big moment of revelation, where I was having to deal with 3 other human beings, extra things, and try and be organised in a house where no one else was organised. And the question about what you can do to help, well, for me, as long as I know the space that I'm sleeping at night is organised and tidy, then I feel settled and calmer. So the kids can create dens and chaos in the rest of the house. But for me, if my personal space is organised for when I go to sleep and for when I wake up, that feels like I'm starting from a good place. If the kitchen feels organised, and even no matter how tired I am, I like to put the dishes where we're lucky enough to have a dishwasher now, but that's just been for the last year and a half. But if the dishes are done and things are fairly put back where they go, then I know that when I get up in the morning, I'm going to feel like I can prepare a breakfast and start from a calm space, because I've got a puppy, 2 noisy, active kids. So if I wake up and look around me and my bedroom's calm and I'm going to prepare the food that will nurture us through the day, the rest of it I can deal with. So I would say choose a couple of areas that you know are going to be really meaningful for you to feel connected and calmer in your home, and focus on them until that habit's entrenched within you. And just accept that things are going to happen. Like the 2 birthdays recently, I had photos all behind this wall and all round when we were talking of photos of my daughter from birth until present, and that was lovely. We spent the whole week just looking at the photos and talking about them. And I noticed that I've got blue tack, well actually it was white tack, which is disturbingly like consistency of chewing gum. I've got marks all around my wall because of that, but hey, my kids are wrecking the house anyway during lockdown. So and my son's birthday's next month, so I'll be sticking more pictures of him up, since that worked so well. What about you, Elaine?
Yeah, well, my background is in sports coaching. So as anyone involved in sports, I think, goal setting and a vision to get somewhere is the ultimate thing that we as sports people would strive to achieve. And the thing about that is we know there's hard work on the way to get to your goal. So, that is sort of my mindset. And in order to create or to keep that mindset focused, I love a clear, clean space. Now, when I first qualified, I moved straight to Switzerland, and I was lucky enough to live in the Swiss Alps for 7 years, and then in the French Alps for another 2 years. And then I lived in Sweden, and I lived in France, and I lived in Spain. So I have been someone who has traveled a lot. and seeing different styles of living and different spaces, amount of spaces for living in. And what I noticed is that, especially when living in the Alps in Switzerland, is that I adored the clean, clear space that the mountains bring. There's no pollution, you know, the grass is greener, the sky is bluer. When it's snowing, it's whiter. I have a very white house, but I think that what, you know, for me, that is what makes my life clear and clean. And the space aspect, so living in a chalet in the Alps, although people think chalets are very big and fancy, quite a lot of people don't live in the £1 million chalets. Let's get that straight. They live in quite small spaces within chalet blocks. And I have a fabulous friend who brought up 3 sons in a tiny space, a beautiful chalet, but a tiny space. And the way that she used that space was amazing. The kitchen was in the kitchen, dining room and living room were all in the same space, but you never felt crammed in. There was beautiful things on the walls, like old pitchforks and things like that, you know, bringing the outside in. The 3 boys slept in one tiny room that my boys would have said, there's no way I'm sleeping in that, it's so small. But, you know, her husband had made, there was bunk beds, and then there was another bed that would come out of the bunk bed. It was, the use of space was just amazing. So it really, really influenced me. And the clearness and the fresh air of the mountains, just for me, I need to have that clear space. And I was lucky enough to experience that, and not everybody gets that. So it had a huge influence on my life. I was brought up in a tidy home, so it wasn't anything to do with that. I have a very, very tidy mind. I can go in, and some of my clients laugh at this, but I can go in and I can see the room clear, and they go, how can you see that? But I just can. And there's a top tip for that. If you sit on your sofa and you look up, the ceiling of your room is a clean, clear space. So that showed you the footprint of your room, and that is how your room could look. Okay, so if people say I struggle to see past the clutter, then I would say stop and look up, because that is what a clean, clear space is. And it's how you then dress the room or want your own stuff in that room. Maintaining that is slightly harder, but that is, everybody, as we said at the beginning of this, has a different level of noise or a different level of clutter. So it's what you feel comfortable with. Zem has lovely books behind her there that she loves around her. We have books in our house, but they are in specific places. They are not out here, just purely because for my husband and I, we love the clean, clear space. And quite a lot of people, as I said, probably won't like what I live in, you know, but it's what we like. And that keeps my mind clear and focused. And if there's too much clutter around, it's stress for me. So I just don't even go there. So that's my kind of story.
So I think there's a couple of things that I've picked up on from what you've both said, and one is definitely kind of what you've been brought up with, and Clara, your reaction against. And I've seen that kind of generational flip, particularly in like people that have come along to the workshops who are like of different generations of the same family, and they're reacting against each other. And also what habits, like, do you know how to clean? You can't just take it for granted. And for myself, I grew up where my mum was a great organizer and sort of finances, and my dad he was kind of cleaner, and he was sort of brought up more in the church, and that idea of cleaning kind of every day as a duty, really, and as one of hospitality. But me and my sister have very different attitudes to looking after a house. So I'm going to completely shame her, because I remember growing up where dad was so upset with her, he just threw her dirty clothes out the window and was like, if you're not dealing with them, they're going on the like, they're going outside. And my sister's like, fair enough. Whereas I always enjoyed playing in my room, and I was allowed to like paint the walls, and I had a big sun on the ceiling, and every season or every couple of years, you know, I would just redecorate and repaint and play. And so I love playing in my home space. But there's something in what the questioner was asking about how you get over that resistance, and it's a massive combination. People say, well, how do clients sort of build up these sort of problems or issues? And I think some of us just have a massive host of vulnerabilities to it. Some of us have a few, some of us have several, and it's a matter of unpicking them, like our brains work in different ways, what we've been taught, what we've witnessed, where our safety is, how we feel comfortable. But I have a couple of questions, ladies, because we were going to do a show and tell. No one's actually asked us to see anything.
It's 5 to 12.
I know, so I was thinking maybe we can shift that on to next week if people want us to see something, and we could do the mindfulness with Elaine now.
Yeah,
sure.
I'll just say next week I'm on holiday, so I hope you all have a lovely clutter talk next week, and I'll look forward to seeing you the following week.
Well, we wish you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. So, well, I mean, in today's clutter talk, so sorry, I was quite up for doing a show and tell. I was all ready with my mobile phone to show you my flat, but it'll give me a chance to finish a few more of the lockdown projects, which are still on my to-do list, which I haven't done. For maybe next week we can do that. So if anybody would like to see either bits of my flat or Elaine's house, then let us know which cupboards you want to see, and we can prepare them in advance. And in today's show, just to go over kind of what we've done, we had a talk at the beginning about silence in a book. So I will just screen through I will just flip to share screen of the books and of the Strathclyde course. We had one question: is there any subsidies or financial assistance for the Strathclyde course? I'm not sure. Elaine, I'm not sure if there is. You'd have to ask Strathclyde.
You'd have to ask the uni, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I'll show up the book now, and then Elaine, do you want to lead us into the meditation?
Yes, if that's fine, yeah, no problem.
So whenever you're ready, just I'll flick through the screens. And the book was called Silence in the Age of Noise, which Clara highly recommended.
Yeah, it's just a small book. It's very easy to read and very relaxing, and lovely pictures in it. Penguin book.
There we go. Elaine, do you want to take us away into some mindfulness? And then
so
we'll all wish you all goodbye.
Yeah. So if you would like to, I would like to invite you to sit upright with your feet fully grounded on the floor if possible. If not, then fair enough. And at any time, if you feel you want to stop, just stop. Disclaimer wise, please don't inhale too much that makes you feel dizzy or anything like that, or puts you your body under any stress. Okay, so just find yourself a comfortable position, hands in your lap, just comfortably in your lap, and if you can feel as if there's a sort of a little thread that's coming from the top of your head right to the ceiling, just to pull your spine a wee bit straighter. Okay, and then we're going to, hopefully you'll be able to hear this. Can you hear that? Okay.
Yeah,
you can hear that. Okay, so if you'd like to lower your eyes, lower your eyelids, or gaze slowly to the ground, and as we hear the bell, so just sitting calmly and quietly breathing normally at the moment. Nice breath in, nice breath out. Invite you to relax your body, lower your shoulders, and just feel your sit bones in the seat that you're sitting, feeling grounded and calm. So now I'd invite you to take a breath in for 4 and let it slowly out for 8 at the next sound of the next bell. 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again in for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sitting calmly, we are tapping in to our central nervous system at the moment. We are relaxing our body. Your body may feel heavy and relaxed. Breathe in again for 4 at the next bell. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, and out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In again for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Feeling your body relax into the seat, clearing your mind of any stresses or anxieties or feelings that make you feel anxious. Using the time between the bells, the space and silence to let the thoughts come in and go out.